Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people who hate reading. This week we're doing the movie Tuskegee Airmen, made in 1995. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, Jeff Mike. Which one of you had the description for this movie?
Oh, I got it. So, 1995, the Tuskegee Airmen. The true story of how a group of African-American pilots overcame racist opposition to become one of the finest U.S. fighter groups in World War II.
So
That's all I got.
Why don't you go first, Jeff?
Me?
Yep.
All right. Well, I saw this a long time ago when it first came out.
A lot of us have seen it. I know for me, they showed it in multiple high school classes.
Oh, did
in
they?
Middle school. I've seen it.
I never got it in high school. I'd seen it a while ago. Wasn't the biggest Cuba fan, but
Yeah, I wasn't either. It took a few years for him to grow on me.
I think it did a really good job. There's a few things I noticed that was a little off, like Hollywood always is, and that's one that they flew P-39s, not the Mustangs that they were flying. So thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know why the switch up on that. I don't know. Maybe people are more
I think that the P-51
familiar.
I think is more famous than, especially I think it was the P-51D. It's the one with the tear-shaped canopy.
Right.
I think that one's more famous than the P-39.
Well, it was saying that the Tuskegee Airmen flew the P-39s, not the Mustangs. That's the information I found. It was entertaining. I would have to say that if I was ever black during that time, I'd probably be the first person killed. Just because simply I wouldn't put up with the.
You would have been hung.
I thought
I'd be the first person. Yeah, trust me. First Jew, I would have been, killed during that era. I would have been the first black person killed. I mean, every era where they
That
put somebody
era?
through something.
Oh, okay.
Every
So the Egyptians
situation,
would have killed you.
I would have always been the first person killed.
I always thought my favorite part
You'd be
showing
the example.
Right? I always thought my favorite part in this movie showing the racism is they had that Nazi. When they had the black guys in the beginning, you had the Lawrence Fishburne and you had Cuba Gooding
On the
Jr.
train.
On the train. They were asked to leave for a Nazi war criminal.
I thought Lithgow did a great job in this film.
He did. He is actually an amazing actor.
I really like him,
really
and
do.
you really dislike him in this film. You're kind of like, wow, that guy's really kind of a racist.
Yeah, but I still look at him and
But
I either think of Third Rock from the Sun or
Buckaroo
or
Banzai.
Dexter.
Well, that's the
Trinity
thing.
Killer.
He gets all these campy roles where it's like almost slapstick comedy.
Wasn't he in Cliffhanger too?
That I don't remember.
I don't
He was a
remember
bad
that.
guy in one movie from that era.
He plays such a diverse part. He can go from, like in Dexter, I mean, he played the most amazing serial killer psychopath I think I've ever seen. I think that was one of his best roles.
Yeah.
He was in Cliffhanger.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I gotta agree with you. He has got such a repertoire of characters that he can go back and forth from, and as we're brought up Dexter, he did such a transformation in one where he's a family man to all of a sudden he's a crazy psycho killer,
Right.
and in this one, he played the racism key to the T of what he was supposed to.
A good,
Although
bald
his
Southern boy.
accent. His accent wasn't spot on at times.
What was he trying to be?
He was trying to be an old boy, Southern boy.
Because he sounded more like a West Coast, California guy in some of the scenes that you.
Yeah, his accent was a little bit off at times, but I think the role that he did negated that. You can overlook that on the fact
You
of
can,
his
but that's
acting
really
ability.
weird because if you've ever heard him, he does have like a
He
southern
does.
twang
He's got
accent
it.
if he wants. I think I don't remember.
I
the
think he was
movie in.
overplaying it at times.
Probably.
So that's what I kind of think. But that goes to the director, is what I say. That's a director's fault because he's got to correct him on that.
So I was gonna say I do think Lithgow was definitely. I think he's definitely underplayed. I don't think people know him, but I don't think people realize how good of an actor and just the random roles he has.
Yeah, because he did. How long was Third Rock from the Sun on?
Oh, that was
like 5 years,
or
6
longer.
years.
Couple, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. I stopped watching after 3 seasons. But the role that he played in there was such
I stopped watching after the first couple.
goofy character that it's, if you've seen that and then you watch something like Tuskegee Airmen or Cliffhanger or some of those earlier roles, it shows his diversity, but then you kind of typecast him as the goofy guy from Third Rock.
That was my point
yeah,
earlier.
You're right.
You said that, he reminds me of Third Rock guy, and that's why I was like, well, he's really diverse because he's played every end of the spectrum.
Yeah,
I really like his character on the Buckaroo Banzai. It's not a good movie, but I love kind of that insane, kind of goofy character.
Yeah.
I think, far as that, I think he does really well.
Yeah, but surprisingly, is this movie has one of the a really high end cast.
Mm-hmm.
If you not at the time though, a lot of the actors hadn't really developed their careers to the point that they are now.
Right.
But I think that the role that this one was, although it, as far as I remember, it wasn't a highly publicized film.
I believe PBS put it out.
Yeah, that's
something like that.
I keep seeing that's what IMDb
I kept seeing
has the
PBS. I was going, because I remember seeing it a while ago, and I don't remember PBS having anything to do with it.
Yeah, so for such an underplayed film, it's got a lot of actors that really made special careers.
Well, I think part
of
it could be, though, too, is like people give public PBS like kind of crap and stuff like that, but I think they're actually one of the better shows.
I mean,
they
Masterpiece Theater is
right.
Fantastic.
They have some amazing.
I know for this movie has a documentary, even though it's Hollywoodized.
Right.
It totally has the feel of a documentary, and I think that leads to it because you got Lawrence Fishburne, who
he did a great job.
I think this is the first movie I remember seeing him going, I like this guy.
Yeah,
because you get to see, it's kind of like seeing Samuel L. Jackson in Reservoir Dogs. I think it's a standout role. Going,
wait,
he has a career. You could see.
Yeah, you got the movies backed up. You mean Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, you're
Samuel
right.
Reservoir Dogs. I'm going. Which guy was
Sorry,
he?
my bad. Yeah, Pulp
Was
Fiction.
there a black guy in Reservoir Dogs? I don't believe so.
I don't remember.
Oh yes, there was.
Yeah.
It was the detective guy.
Yeah.
And the dude that got shot in the scene. Oh,
that's Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, you're right. See now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, but I think this is like
films.
Samuel L. Jackson's, Pulp Fiction. I think this is the role you get to see kind of like the base for most of his characters. You get to see kind of his
Really,
range.
you think that Lawrence Fishburne had a base character that he was playing in this? Because I don't think he played this character again.
I think it proved that he could actually carry a role, though. I think because up until that point, he was kind of the side guy.
And I think base fires you get to see kind of like his, I guess the standard, because generally he doesn't go under this. Where he plays, that the character's decent acting. I just think the way he acts, I think this is kind of you get to see he sets a standard for himself.
Okay.
Well, one thing real quick.
I kind of was gonna say, I was trying to think of the name of the movie that he did before this that I could see the same character being played, but not so much. Would be Apocalypse Now. He didn't really. He didn't have a major role in there, but he was. He had kind of a military role type thing that he had this one where he was kind of fighting base racism, because there was some of that in Apocalypse Now. Not so much as this film, but
The thing I actually love about this movie, though, is the scene where they're introducing each other when they're in the barracks, and they're saying, one guy says, "Who are you?" It's like, "Oh, I'm an art history major. I'm a science, political science guy." I love the fact that all these African Americans were in there, were smarter than half the most of the people on the base, and they were still getting treated poorly. And I thought that was I loved one of the scenes when Lawrence Fishburne was talking to one of the guys, like, "Go home. I don't want you here. I don't need you here if you're going to be like this.
Yeah, our
job is to defeat them." And I thought that was kind of cool.
The only part about this movie that really I thought one part of it was really kind of it kind of irritated me, I guess you would say, is when the guy, he jumps and he steals the plane.
Yeah.
To go take off. And yeah, exactly. Well, first off, I mean, granted, I don't know if they would have shot him down because of the cost of the plane. The cost of the plane is what comes in there. Because back then, unfortunately, people were ignorant and thought that black people were less, as this movie shows.
Yeah.
And so,
unfortunately,
you almost got to wonder if this person that isn't looked at as a person yet because of our ignorance back then, the way we viewed race, why would we not have just taken him out immediately instead of letting him go on this brigade where he steals
Yeah, I was wondering the
a
same
major
thing.
aircraft, runs around, does a whole bunch
Because,
of crap, comes down, no repercussion.
If you think about it, at that time in the military, they had a lot of guns
Yeah.
on hand.
Yeah.
So that guy's running towards a plane. He's already been dishonorably discharged as far as the military is concerned. Shoot him.
He's a civilian
Before he gets
stealing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you brought up a good point too, is the fact that at this time they viewed the property of the military, the plane, being more than the property of this man's life.
Right, the
And you're
value and the
completely
worth
right.
of it, yeah.
You made me think of Blazing Saddles when they're on the cart and they go into the quicksand and they rescue the cart instead of the two black guys because the cart was worth more.
Right.
So that's kind of, you are right, that's the thinking of that time. And I was thinking the same thing, is that I don't know why they let him just hop in that plane like that.
No repercussions either. It was just kind of like, I guess he did
He kind
the
of
job.
died. I mean,
Yeah,
that was the
he
ultimate
died.
repercussion.
There was no more repercussions that they could do.
Yeah, I know, but
drag him out, chop him into little pieces, and burn him again. You know, it's like, really?
maybe mail each piece to his family or
There you
something.
go.
That's
Once
kinda
a month.
cruel.
Here's a
That's
pinky
joke.
finger. You know, what do you? What?
All of a sudden, it's a mob movie.
I know. I'm like, what the heck's going
But
on?
all this, I mean,
They're gonna wake up with this head in their bed. Seriously?
and I mean, I know there was issues back then where they thought that the black man was whatever. But here's my thing: you're in war, right? Or you're about to fight somebody. You don't care if that person's pink, blue. Your race facts don't come into it. If somebody's shooting at you and they've either got your back or they don't, it doesn't matter if that person's black or white. They're going to save your ass regardless. So that kind of sets aside race in itself.
Well, they
Unfortunately,
did
that's
deal
not the
with that.
case.
They did deal with this in the movie.
They
Yeah.
did when the
When-
guy came back and was like, "Well, I'm a douche. I'm sorry. You did good job."
what
You
does
know?
it
But
say?
no,
Hold
it
on,
was
let
the
me-
initial thing. Hold on.
Let me set the scene first.
Okay.
If you're going to talk about
Meow,
it,
meow, meow, meow. Meow.
because this was towards the end of the movie.
Meow.
I'll mute you.
Meow.
But you can still hear me.
You know, basically, what you want to do, just if you're going to talk about a scene, at least describe it. I mean,
I was getting there.
then go ahead.
Okay.
Because you just started.
So the part in the movie
Good boy.
when they shout down the Nazi planes that are after the what was it, B
The
something,
B-2 bombers.
B-17.
B-17. Thank you.
that's right.
I almost said B-52. I knew it wasn't a B-52. Anyway, B-17.
No, it's
they
not
shot.
Star Trek.
They came down and they showed up and rescued that plane.
That wasn't theirs.
That wasn't theirs to rescue
Mm-hmm.
because they saw that it was getting shot at. And then he goes and tries to find out who it was, and then finds out that it's the black guys, the black platoon.
Right.
It was the
And he wants,
32nd?
and he wanted 333 or no, it's 333 or something
Yeah.
like that. Anyway, and he goes there and he's actually wanting to congratulate him, and his buddy from Texas, like, let's get out of here. This isn't our place.
Right.
You could see on his face, and whoever that actor was played it pretty good, of the confliction that he had. He wanted to.
I'm
You
not
could see it on
supposed to
his-
like him,
Yeah,
but my
he-
God, he's a great guy.
Yeah, type thing. And, he's kind of in shock and awe over it. Like, these guys really did something great, and I have respect for them, but my friends over here. So they showed that there was that at the time, that there was people that were willing to say thank you for rescuing me, and then there's the other guys that are like,
Right.
hey, that's not cool. Your friends are saying that's not cool
Yeah.
when you want to do something.
Well, this movie also made me feel like apparently back then the military had no rules, because
Yeah, I
they
could see
seemed
that
to like
too.
they'd be flying. They'd be like that one guy was like, "Oh look, these guys are coming. I'm gonna go take them out." You don't. I mean, God, even in like you get that footage from Iraq. I mean, even before they got the guy on the ground that they're trying to take out, they're like, okay, you got to call in confirmation. You got to be like, Tango, yes, is Tango down,
Well, I
Tango
think-
not.
I
Know.
Well, one of them was.
But they took off on their own little tangent, though, and they were like, "Oh, well, we're going to go over here and we're going to do this. We're going to do this." There was no like base mission that they were sticking to, because it was almost like they just made up their own rules as they went in the air.
I think what it was, and this is just my opinion, I don't actually know. I'm thinking during World War II, it was a little more loose and wild. This was a world war. I think as long as they were doing kind of the mission in the area, I think that's what it basically come to. I think now we're in a more controlled battlefield.
I don't know.
I still agree with Jeff. on
They
this
used
one.
to have people stand in a line and shoot each other. I mean, come on. If you're going to... You got to have something... That's control.
Yeah, but I kind of agree with Jeff is the fact that the military has oversight. There are specific rules that you're supposed to follow, and there is that point where there was the guy who broke off from his formation to go after them one-on-one, and his buddies didn't follow him.
Yeah.
So they stuck to the mission. He did not. And then also what you're saying was brought before the military council or the Senate, and basically was saying these guys aren't following rules. They're kind of breaking off, doing whatever they want, and that was one of the charges that was brought against them.
Well, I think this is also another thing where it's showing racism, though, because earlier in the movie it talked about how the white guys could basically do whatever they want. It was forgiven, but once a black guy slipped and did something stupid, then the microscope was put on.
But this is where Hollywood takes over, because in reality, the military's not like that.
But I still agree with the commander of them, who was basically saying we are being held to a higher standard, and that is completely right, because they are trying to prove themselves to the supposedly
the ignorant.
Whether it's fair or not, they were under a microscope for everything they did.
Yeah, because they were on a trial period, and they needed to act that way. And of course, when you take humans, there's going to be the human error, and there's going to be people that don't listen.
Yeah, but if you're under the microscope, I mean, there was no attempt to follow any of their missions. Really, it was kind of like, just get us up in the air and we'll fight.
Well, I think I'm thinking what they wanted.
Just granted what they're supposed to do, but
they just wanted to prove themselves, because they were never given good missions. They were never given an opportunity to prove themselves. I think that was Lawrence Fishburne's conversation back on
the base
in Tuskegee,
when
he was talking about our job is to make the people who hate us lose. We're going to show them we're better than everybody, and I think part of that was give us up in the air, we'll win.
True, but the military doesn't have, you ask anybody in the military, and I mean, if you ever saw footage of war, you're not going to see the one guy, that's always in the movies, kind of like these guys, the one guy charging forward, and, there's bullets and bombs exploding next to him, but he's running and he's going to go take on the whole army kind of thing. That's kind of the view I got out of them, was that they were just like...
Are you sure you didn't watch The Patriot?
No, especially when that guy broke off.
Steven Seagal?
Was
The
it
Patriot? No, that was
especially
there's a movie
Mel Gibson.
There's a movie called Patriot with Steven Seagal.
Yeah, and there's one with Mel Gibson too.
the part when the guy broke off from the rest of them to take out the guy. I mean, there's really...
Well, I'll be honest, I think that happened, but I think the military has a tendency to weed those people out.
See, it
just naturally happens.
I don't agree with you on that. I don't think that necessarily happened. I would say that it never happened. I would say that it probably didn't happen often.
It's an exception to the rule.
Because when you actually get into real life, and this is supposed to be based on a true story,
it's Hollywood eyes,
and people are shooting at you, you got bullets coming after you, you don't get that brave.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Well, I think
your mortality is very present at that time.
I think
the old saying is that there's no atheist in a foxhole.
I think what it comes down to is the parts that really bug Jeff, talking about the people breaking off and doing the other thing. I think that basically it's a plot device to show the stresses.
It's Hollywood, definitely.
To show the stresses and the rigor of being held to such a high standard. I think that's what it because the one guy who broke off, who ended up dying, that's why he did it, because he's like, finally we have a chance to kill a 109. Let's go do it. And everybody's like, no, let's do our mission. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I agree with you that there was, I'm sure there was the glory hounds.
I hope not, but
every story is over glorified by Hollywood. If it's going to be a true story, it is so loosely based on a true story. It's
but you're not going to see any full-fledged true story, page by page, of how history accounts it. You're always going to have Hollywood doing something to drag a story into it.
In fact, the only part of this movie that was really closely remotely true
is that there were black Tuskegee Airmen that came out of there?
Bow character. No, was the Benjamin Bow character. All the other characters were completely... Bow was the guy...
Hold on, I can pull it up in a second.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can give you a description.
Was he Andre
Brauher, Benjamin O. Davis? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Benjamin O. Davis.
Was he the...
Yeah, Bow.
Was he one of the fighter pilots, or is he the commander? You know, the black guy who went over to Canada to fight. Was he that guy?
No.
No, he was.
Darn.
God, I don't know what his title on it was.
It's just as Benjamin O. Davis.
So what
That's
you're
it.
thinking of that, Jeff? What did you give this movie?
Oh, I had points before we got
okay,
there.
then
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
really?
yeah.
Are you just gonna skip by all the points because you didn't really go over any points either?
Well, that's what I read, was that this Benjamin character was the only factual based person in this whole film. I mean,
Okay.
yes, there was Tuskegee Airmen, and yes, but when it came to the way the person was, or factual, presentation of it,
Only
this
person
Benjamin-
true to life.
yeah, there's only one.
So what my points really were is the fact that, I mean, this is the decent story here. It's a great story, actually, of the overcoming of the divide, the ignorance that was going on at the time. It's just the fact of how the movie is filmed, portrayed, is dated. They used a lot of old camera tricks, like where they're shooting the gun and all of a sudden they go to actual gun shooting archive footage that it looked like.
I was going to say, some of that looked like real footage.
Some of it
I was
was.
pretty sure
So
it was.
it's that thing that it was basically archive footage that they had.
Yeah.
That's what made it feel like documentary, too.
Exactly. So that's kind of what you get the feeling of, and that gets old after a while when they're kind of sitting in a plane. They got the little camera on the actual plane that they're sitting in, which is
Right.
probably just a cutout of part of a plane on some hydraulics.
Which isn't even the real plane that they used to fly.
And then all of a sudden you see them press the button, and all of a sudden it cuts
Yeah.
to some archive footage, and you see
Yeah.
boom. Yay!
Which, by the way, the archive footage, the bullets look so much more destructive than when they had the fake bullets in the other scenes.
yeah.
So it would be like,
yeah,
pew,
yeah.
pew, 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 and then they get the real footage, just like, brrr, and it just completely obliterates everything in
Yeah.
half.
That's what I was saying. Could you imagine? There's one scene where there's
look
some
at the
guys that
caliber
are
of those rounds,
where
too.
there's a couple guys that get shot in the B-17, and I'm just like, okay, that guy would not be breathing.
Like when Cuba got shot.
Yeah, when Cuba got shot,
That would have tore the half of that damn cockpit open.
Don't forget,
Yeah.
this is also 95, when
Exactly,
it
so
wasn't
that's
as
why-
acceptable.
And
that's
it's
why I'm
Cuba,
saying.
you
That's why I'm
can't,
saying it's dated. That's why I'm saying it's dated.
It was during his height too, Cuba's height of film, I guess you would say, if he had one.
During the height
so
of
they
his
can't
career,
destroy
yeah.
his face. So yeah, I guess that's
So
probably.
that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think the acting was really well done for who was there. Like I said, they made some amazing careers after this. Some had decent careers before, but after this, you see kind
They
of a
picked up,
progression of
yeah.
their careers jumping forward. But that's really what, as far as I'm concerned, kind of takes away from the movie is when they do the hydraulic plane. Then all of a sudden you see
when it's on the
archive.
gimbal and
Yeah, and it just kind of is one of those things. But it's an old camera trick from '95. Back then it was kind of like, oh, okay, you kind of forgave it because what are you going to do? Really,
See,
there was no big progression of CG.
If
or
this
anything.
is a PBS
movie.
produced movie, I actually have a little bit more respect for it. I know it does have some good names, as you just pointed out. It does have good people in it, but to have PBS produce something with actual names and actually have it come out pretty entertaining, good movie.
Yeah.
I would rather support that because that's publicly supported than if some major like HBO or Miramax or something picked it up.
Yeah.
So I think that it's almost they had a harder job to portray.
I'll give you
to
that.
make it a box office movie or something
See,
like that. You know what I mean?
This is where I'm kind of disagree with James. I like this movie because it's not CG, old camera tricks. There are a few things that I agree with James. The gun footage gets old, especially when the grain of the film is present. That's always kind of bugged me. But I like this because it looked like they were using real planes, and this is 1995. Let me set the scene as Jurassic Park came out in 93.
Yeah.
So this was probably a much cheaper produced movie. I liked the fact that it was all practical effects. I really like that.
I'm not saying that I'm upset by the practical effects. I'm just saying when you're watching the film,
It stands out more.
It stands out, and it kind of gets to the point where after you've seen it like about 6 times, you're kind of like, okay,
I'm with
John
though on this one. I really am. Practical effects will blow CGI out of the art any day for me, because CGI is simple. Not that it's simple work. I'm saying it's something somebody does like on a computer, whereas to like the people that actually have to use props, and like back in the days, like horror movies used to, have like buckets of blood is what they would call it, because they would literally have all this fake blood and all these parts and everything, and now it's just all CGI and it looks so fake and it looks so just over computerized. And you know what? The original It speaks to me more of an art, because you have to go that extra mile to make your viewer believe something, and you have to put extra work into that. So I actually have more respect, and I can tolerate it more. Like, even if I notice, that special effect didn't look that great, did this, I still respect it more than somebody that went in and just fuck it, just CGI the whole thing.
I agree with you on that.
That's one of the reasons I can't stand Michael Bay.
I'm just talking about in today's standards.
Yeah.
That's what I'm comparing it to.
Well, and today's standards too. What was it that was just recently put out? It was minimal. Judge Dredd. Minimal special. Minimal CGI.
There was actually a lot of CGI. But the
effects in there were more.
I think the difference is, and this is my opinion, I think they're learning is the fact it's not wholly traditional, not wholly visual. It's a combination of the two that makes it better. And I think they're coming to the point now that they're realizing you've got to do both so it doesn't stand out. Because, 10 years from now, movies that like Transformers are going to look hardcore dated.
Oh, yeah.
They are, and that's why I don't like
They're already
the CGI.
looking hardcore dated now.
Like that last film we watched, Eternal Sunshine, the scene where Jim Carrey's underneath the table, there is no CGI in that. They did it with putting the table on a higher level ground or whatever, and just distance. So it really,
But I do think, though, that if you look at movies
I think that's art, if you ask me.
I do think if you look at movies like Jurassic Park, does not look as dated as Transformers does.
No, Jurassic Park, I think they did a good job, but that's just because their budget was stupendous.
No, but the only reason why I'm saying, if you look at 93 technology versus whenever, like 2008, if you look at the difference.
We're worried about fake dinosaurs.
Yeah, but if you look at the difference, though, I mean, in the technology today is so much more advanced. But the CGI in Jurassic Park looks a lot better to me.
It does,
and that's what I'm saying is
Okay.
And usually 90% of the not to get off subject, but 90% of the movies I see that have to do anything with a dinosaur or something, the dinosaurs look so damn fake, it's retarded. But Jurassic Park actually did a good job. I'm not saying that.
Well, don't talk about number 3 then.
No, I'm saying Jurassic Park. Okay, we're starting with.
It didn't go beyond that.
The first one.
It was done after that.
First one, and I'm just talking about the dinosaurs, nothing else, because there's a lot of stuff in the movie
that
dates
CGI
it.
was good, and that was a believable dinosaur.
Like, what's his name?
Norman.
But we're getting totally off subject
Jeff
here.
Goldblum?
We need to go back to
Goldblum.
I like Jeff Goldblum.
Anyway, so do you have any more points?
I said my points as we kind of went along. So
okay, so numbers.
Number rating?
Yeah.
2.5, 3. I'll give it a 3.
We don't do half.
We don't do half.
No
That's
points. So 3. What about you, James?
I was tossing this one up. I actually think I'll give this one a full 3. Almost a 4.
It was
be honest,
good.
I mean, yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm a sucker for anything with World War II, so I'm giving it a 4. I'm 4 out of 5 for me.
That's cool though. I mean, it was good enough to
because I love this film for a couple of reasons. I love it because it's World War II. It's a historical event when you had people who weren't accepted in society excelling, which I'm a sucker for.
Well, at least it wasn't like Medea's family reunion, and you were like, oh, 4. It's Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I give you credit on that.
I just.
He could have picked a worse movie to give a better rating to.
True.
Super. Anyway, what's up?
I saw that the other night on Netflix. I haven't watched that yet. I just heard it was that bad that I won't.
Well, I'm going to lay down the Real Flix Review challenge for you to watch it and then come back and tell us what you think of it. Since you weren't here.
We've already rated that one.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, we already did that one.
That's not the. I was trying to remember
Super,
if I've seen.
Thanks for asking.
Is he gay?
No.
Oh. No, I was going to say the one I saw, and tell me if this is super, but a guy, not really right in the head, goes to you know how they do the experiments. They give you cash or whatever, like they'll draw your blood or whatever, and they'll give you a pill. Like you'll be the tester guy. Well, he goes to get this pill, and signs off a waiver so he can get paid for it. Well, the medication they give him start making him think that he's a superhero. And so he goes around town trying to do all this.
Does he hit
crap
somebody?
kicked out of him every single time.
Does he hit somebody with a wrench? And does he have a sidekick who gets shot in the face?
No. No sidekick.
That's probably a different movie.
The guy. It's almost like the guy has a mental. It's
well, I would just say the guy in Super was mental, but I don't think a pill helped him with that.
So what we're gonna do is we'll after
so
the
no, that wasn't
after
a film then.
After the show we'll show you the movie, and then so you, if we can find it for you so you can watch it.
Oh, I found it on Netflix.
So I'm gonna switch over to movie news.
Okay.
And the piece I have I'm interested is Russell Crowe, who played Superman's dad. I can never remember his name.
Jor-El.
A lot of people have been asking him about doing a prequel.
No, his Earth dad, not his.
No. The Russell Crowe.
Oh, Russell Crowe
played
right.
Jor-El.
Yeah, you're right.
A lot of people
Kevin. What's his name? I can't think of his name right now.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah, okay, I was alright. Kevin Costner.
So it would be Jor-El's story, the leading up to Kal-El being sent to Earth. So that whole story. What would you think about a prequel? Because I'm actually down for that. I think that'd be cool. A story that I've never read.
Every Superman. The problem I have with Superman, I like Superman. Not a lot of people do.
That is a problem.
But the problem I have, the main problem I do have with Superman is that A, he's too goody-goody, and B, every movie is the same damn movie. It's all about how he comes to his powers, and then he's got to fight either...
And he gets his butt kicked, and then he comes back and fights again.
See, this would be
Haymaker landed.
This would be his dad.
Spandex and a cape.
This would have nothing to do with Kal-El. This would be simple. This would be simply his dad and his mom's story of what led up to the destruction of their planet of Krypton, of what happened between him and Zod.
That's never really been...
that's what I want to see.
I should say film-wise, I haven't seen that, and maybe in cartoon, but in actual...
I don't even think in cartoon that I've known.
It's probably been in comic books, but I haven't.
I was gonna say comic books, but I don't think cartoon.
Yeah,
like animated cartoon.
There's been some backstory of like where Brainiac came from, where Supergirl came from. There's been some stories of Krypton, but I don't remember anything specific talking about his dad.
I would be interested, but I wouldn't be jumping for joy.
Yeah.
It
would be one of those meh movies.
Yeah, exactly. Meh. Yeah.
Well, if they made it, if they didn't spend as much on Superman, if they spent $100 million, if they make it a $50 million movie type of thing, it just I think it'd be cool.
But I still don't. I mean, it wouldn't be something I would be planning on going to the movie theater to see. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
It would just be something. Like it would be a back burner movie.
Sounds like another perfect opportunity for Michael Bay to completely destroy a concept or a film.
No, I think. Well, you know what?
Or Shyamalala Ding Dong.
So what?
Shyamalala Ding Dong.
What's that?
Sixth Sense.
Oh, okay.
So
The Happening, which wasn't happening.
Oh, isn't it like where the hell did Shyamalala Ding Dong come out?
That's what I refer to him as.
So, ladies and gentlemen, because of events leading with James' life and Ryan not being here, next week it's going to be Jeff's pick. And so, what movie are you doing?
It's a film directed by Jean-Luc Godard. It's called Band of Outsiders.
Goodard.
It's actually, you know what? Here, this might give you, and just, I know many people haven't heard of this, but just to give you a little bit of insight, Quentin Tarantino, I know you're a fan of him. Well, John is.
The whole show is.
Quentin Tarantino's production company is named A Band Apart after Band of Outsiders. He drew a lot of his what do you call it? Inspiration and camera effects and everything from Jean-Luc Godard, which was the first to use different angles and points of view with the camera. So it's kind of it's one of the ones where it's a the bad guy that you're rooting for. Back before those films were popular. So that's my pick.